Nope. Hello. Today we're carrying on with the engine install of this Fiat 500 TwinAir. So where we're at right now is the engine is in, it's mounted on both sides. I still need to mount it up on the bottom, and today really I need to start tackling all of this wiring. Now in the last video you would have seen me, I managed to get the alternator, the starter motor and a couple of other sensors on the back of the engine all plugged in, so that's actually taken care of, which is good because I mean, if you can see in there, this is quite snug. I also need to see if there's any oil left in this engine, and if so, drain that oil and then put fresh oil in it. And I also need to do the same with the gearbox. When you take the drive shaft out of this gearbox, it actually leaks transmission fluid everywhere, so I'm going to use this opportunity now to do an oil change on the gearbox too. I have to do other things as well, like I need to flush the radiator out. If you saw when I took the radiator off, it was just full of crud, all sorts of rust and all this stuff here where you can see the bottle was overflown at some point and it's just left all this stuff. It's rust coloured, I'm not sure what it is, but it doesn't look good. So the rad needs flushing out. There's lots of little bits to do basically, is what I'm trying to tell you today. But the absolute first thing I need to do is I need to get all of these wires and sensors and plugs and everything back on the engine so that we can aim to get this started as soon as possible. Okay, that is most of that done. I didn't film it all because, you know, it's just plugging plugs into sockets, you know. Once you've seen that, you've seen it a million times. There weren't any dramas whatsoever. Everything just went straight back into its home. You know, it was a breeze, to be honest. Coil packs are in, all the wires are routed, everything's plugged in, and you know, everything's even kind of clipped in. I love to make sure that these things are all properly clipped in, even right behind there, you know, and it's all just gone together really well. There's a couple of things down here. Some of this is for, you know, lambda sensors, and some of this is for headlights and that, so I don't need to worry about that now. I also put in the bottom engine mount as well, so that's now all sorted. I do have this coolant bottle and some of those lines to reattach. So this one goes like, right, where does it go? It goes down there like that. And then this is for the turbo, so I'll make sure that I put some new crush washers and that on this feed line. I also managed to get down here, the gearbox is connected back up. There's one there and there's one you can't really see right down there. And I've tested the gearbox a bit, you know, it goes into gear, so that's all good as well. So we're really getting on now. So this coolant tank, I think you can see it in there, that's it's looking pretty red, pretty browny. Now you might have seen when I drained the coolant out of this car, it was this kind of rusty colour. There was a load of people in the comments saying, oh yeah, no, coolant can be that colour, but like this is left like a stain. Now I have like attacked this with a hose, you know, I've shot water down here, I've shot it through the outlet there. I've got most of it out. I've got as much out as I possibly can. Everything else that's stuck in there is just kind of stuck to the walls of the tank. So I mean, I'm going to reinstall it and basically just hope for the best. Okay, so right now all I'm trying to do is reconnect these drive shafts. This one on the passenger side is a little bit more tricky because if you recall, I've still got the other end actually bolted into the hub, so I'm just trying to push this all back in. I don't have enough hands. Go on, get in. Uh-oh. Ah, yeah, nice. Okay, that's the passenger side in. No, the driver's side. Through there. Yeah. Ow. Ow. How the hell did that come out then? Okay, we're in that side. Oh, imagine having a car lift right now. Ooh. Go on. Yep, go on. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, so this is really getting there. Now what I'm thinking is, what parts need to go on this engine before I install the front clip again, or what do I need to do on this before I install the front clip? So I'm going to do an oil change on the engine. You know what, I've never even actually checked to see if there's any oil in this new engine. No, bone dry, so there's no oil in the engine. That's fine. That makes the job a lot easier, knowing that I don't have to create a massive mess. Talking of a massive mess, so you see all of this on the floor. So I've actually jet washed this, I've scrubbed it already, you know, and I use some soapy water, but I mean obviously it's oil, it's a lot deeper set than that. If anyone can recommend a really decent oil remover for tarmac, that would be fantastic, because lots of the stuff I can find have like completely mediocre reviews, and because of all the silly environmental stuff that we've got, you know, you can't actually get a decent chemical to get it off. So, you know, which seems kind of counterproductive, doesn't it? Because a load of chemicals on the floor and I can't add some more to actually remove it and flush it away, but you know. Okay, so I am still going to crack this sump plug and see if there's anything left in there at all. And then I have got a replacement sump plug that I'm going to put in. Oh yeah, look, still loads in there. Let's talk engine oil a second. So if you go online and Google what oil should I put in my TwinAir engine, you're going to find yourself in the middle of a debate that is more fiercely contested than the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. There is a lot of confusion about what oil, so I just simply called Fiat and asked them, and the response I got from Fiat, and they said this is what they use when they service these engines, is good old-fashioned 5W40. You can find a lot of stuff online saying that you must only use a brand or a make of oil called Selenia something pure K something 5W40, this, that, the other. But that's really just a marketing thing. Selenia, I think the brand Selenia used to be owned by Fiat, so Fiat specified Selenia. I mean, look, you can actually see it on this sticker here, Selenia motor oil. So that was a brand that was owned by Fiat, and then they sold it to Petronas. So that's why they pushed the Selenia brand so hard. But in actual fact, good old-fashioned 5W40, as long as it's got the rating, it meets the Fiat rating, which this does, it's absolutely fine. Now the other debate is over, do you use 5W40 or 0W30, because these engines feature inlet valves that are hydraulically actuated, so they're not driven off of a cam, and you need to have the correct oil in order for this whole system to work. That's kind of like the TwinAir system, if you like. And they just basically, they need the correct grade of oil so that the computer can understand the viscosity of the oil so that it can actuate the valves at the correct time. That's my understanding of it. I could be wrong. That's my understanding of it. Now I've been told that the computer can work out for itself the viscosity of the oil and make that calculation. I mean, you'd expect that. After all, these cars are now incredibly complex and clever. But the difference between OW30 and 5W40, as I've been told, for these engines is simply to do with the Euro 5 and Euro 6 emissions. So the Euro 5 went right up to 2015, and so if you've got a Euro 5 car, 5W40. If your car is 2015 and onwards, Euro 6, 0W30. Look, this is just what I've been told. Don't shoot the messenger. I've been told different things by different people, so I called Fiat, and that is what Fiat have told me, so that is what I'm going with. I mean, you can go online, you can look in the forums, and different Fiat dealerships tell different people different things. It is what it is. I'm putting 5W40 in, it meets the Fiat specification, it's going in. That's it. And obviously, rather than doing the right thing and measuring out the exact quantity of oil that this engine needs, I'm just going to do it by eye because I don't have anything to measure it with. I mean, I do, but it's a measuring jug for the kitchen. And I don't fancy another near fatal nose injury. Just a smidge more. What I'm going to do now is, when I pulled this off, there was a load of very funky looking coolant that came out of it. Now, I had a lot of people in the comments saying, yep, that looks like rust. I had a load of other people saying that just looks like standard Paraflu, which is the coolant that Fiat use. I had other people saying someone has definitely taken a dump in your coolant system. So, you know, at this point, I don't know, I'm as confused as everyone else. So all I'm going to do is, just to make sure, is I'm going to squirt loads of water through the system. I'm just going to flush it out basically. Hopefully it'll come out the bottom. We'll take a look at what comes out, and then I'll drain all this out, and then I'm just going to like rest happy knowing that a load of this gunk, whatever it is, even if it is good stuff, is out of the system. Well, that water started running clear almost immediately, so I think whatever was in there hasn't done anything lasting, I hope. Okay, bit of an update. So, first things first, I've bled the slave cylinder on this car using my amazing Sealy power bleeder. That thing really is indispensable. If you ask me, one man brake and clutch bleeding masterpiece. Link in the description for where you can get that. Not expensive, well worth it. And so if you watched my videos of the Mini when I went to bleed the slave cylinder on the Mini, I actually managed to kind of string it out into 2 videos because I think I attempted to bleed that clutch about, what, 2 million times, maybe even 3 million times. But the slave cylinder on this, first time, there's absolutely nothing to it. It's not a funky design like the one on the Mini, where it had this high point where all the air gets trapped and that. This thing's just kind of flat. It's under there. You saw it in one of my last videos. So easy. Clutch works nice. I was just like straight in and out. Love it. And then once I was done with everything in that area, I've now refitted the battery tray and the ECU, and that's all plugged in. All the wires are here ready to go to a battery, which I'm obviously not going to install just yet. And I also had a transmission bolt turn up in the post, so you can't see it, but it's in there, and that's all in. So I've now got all the bell housing bolts for this because I couldn't find that bell housing bolt. I don't know where I lost it, but I have lost it. So next then really is, I think I need to refit the cap, don't I? Actually the cat, and I've also got some hoses to fit in here for the coolant. Massive shout out to all you viewers who continue to buy me a beer. I really appreciate it. It's very generous of you. So massive shout out to Elliot, Niels, Simon, Charlie, Matt. Thank you ever so much for the beer. If you want to do the same, there's a link in the description. I really appreciate the support. Okay, that is now the gearbox oil changed. I finally had some Jubilee clips just turn up large enough in the post. So that is the inlet pipe all connected nicely. So now I'm just moving on to, I'm going to reinstall the cat. So in my turbo seal gasket majigger kit, you get a new pipe cat connector thinger and a gasket as well. So actually, let me show you something. This is the new gasket, that is the old gasket. Now I think that should be quite clear to you. This is, well, circular, and this isn't. I haven't bent that at all. That is exactly how it came off of the top end of the cat there, out of the turbo, and it's just warped and mangled beyond belief. So I'm feeling quite glad that I've got this new gasket, and then that's just going to fit on there like that. Then we'll plug the cat up like that, and then finish it off with this nice clip bracket thing. Okay, that is the cat and its heat shield now back on, the shiny new fastener there. And so really the only thing that's left is there's this upper heat shield that goes on there like that, and then down here I have plugged it back into the exhaust, even though I'm pretty sure I'm going to be getting a new exhaust for this, because, well, basically if I don't plug it back into the exhaust we're going to be straight piped, mate, and I don't really fancy that, to be honest. I'd rather keep the noise down low so that I can actually hear what's going on in here should I need to on its first start. I think the next thing is actually installing the front clip. Good morning, it is the next day again now. I just kind of cracked on last night. I wanted to get as much done as possible just because I really want to get this car started. So the front clip is largely on. So I've got it just in the wrong bolt holes, but just kind of offered up just so I can get a little bit more space in here, just in case I need to get down there. It's not connected at the bottom or anything like that. All of my hoses are now connected, all of that down there, with the intercooler down there, that's all up, the coolant. Obviously you can see I've put the air box back on, that's all connected. None of this is bolted down yet, there's no need to bolt everything down in case I have to just take it all off again. So what we need to do now is coolant. And here's the thing with the coolant, I'm not going to put in the proper Paraflu stuff, which is what Fiat recommends for this, because, you know, I've spoken about this. It looks like it's had some kind of crusty coolant in it. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't, I don't know, but I've tried to flush out the radiator and the hoses as best as I can, you know, but there's still going to be residue in there. Now I know none of that residue is going to be in this new engine, but unfortunately there's no way of fully getting it out with all of the radiator and the pipes and stuff. It's going to end up in the engine, like whatever that stuff is, even if it's good. Like, it's just, I'm just assuming it's bad at this point. It's going to be in the heater element, isn't it? You know, it's unavoidable that this stuff's going to go in the engine. So what I'm going to do is, I've got the like incorrect stuff, just some Halford's cheap coolant, which will work absolutely fine. So I'm going to fill it up with that stuff, and then, you know, I'm going to run the engine a good few times with that coolant in. It will be fine. And then really what I'm hoping happens is that, you know, once the coolant comes up to temperature, just the temperature alone will help strip out, you know, some of the gunk that might be in the system. And then what I'll do is I'll do a proper coolant flush. I'll take all of that coolant out and then put in the proper stuff. And then by that point, I think we should be golden. I mean, that's how I've sold it to myself. So, right, so what I've done is just removed the world's most inaccessible bleed screw from the radiator, and then I'm going to fill it up, wait until it pours out the top of the bleed screw a little bit, and then refit the bleed screw, top up the canister, and that should be it, I think. I hope. There we go. Okay, so that is the coolant all in. I've topped up the bottle, and I imagine once I start running the engine, that's going to go down. I have to top it up again, and then probably bleed it a bit. I'll get on to that. Obviously, I forgot to put a catch can down for the majority of the coolant that spilled out of the thing, because I'm an inexperienced idiot, and quite frankly, I'm an environmental danger. I'll clear it up, don't worry. So you know what, this is pretty much ready to start. So all I need to do really is connect the battery and then turn the key. What I am going to do first is I'm going to go around and just double check, treble check that everything is connected, all of the pipes, all of the hoses, all of the electrical connectors, just so I don't get unstuck. I'm almost certain I've got everything. There's nothing dangling anywhere, you know, it all looks like it's in the correct place. So what I'm going to do before I put the battery in, so because the engine's been out and I've drained all the oil, there's not going to be any oil pressure in this, and crucially there's not going to be any oil in the turbo either. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove the fuel pump relay. I think it's this one down here, T10. I mean, again, with these engines, there's nothing online. I can't find any information. But all the other Fiat engine, well, pretty much all of them for the 500 is this T10 down here. So I'm going to remove that. I mean, I'll turn the key if I hear the pump kick in and I know I've got the wrong one. But removing that relay will disable the fuel pump, and then I'm going to crank the engine for a few seconds, you know, maybe about 5 times. What that'll do is that's going to start sending oil all through the engine into the oil filter housing, and yeah, crucially into the turbo, so it lubricates it before I then plug the relay back in and then actually crank on the engine. And because the fuel pump's now connected, it should fire, but we're not going to have any moments of this engine running when there's no oil pressure. That's the plan. And I can tell you right now, I'm nervous. I was nervous doing this on the Mini, and I'm nervous again now, because this is the part, you know, if something bad has happened, or if all of this work hasn't worked, this is the moment you're going to find out. And I don't want it not to have worked, basically. So deep breaths. It should be fine though. It should be fine, I'm hopeful. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is I don't know anything about this engine. I bought it on eBay. You know, someone said, well, how do you know it's got 41,000 miles? How do you know it's a good engine? My answer to that was, I don't. I'm just trusting them, you know. So we're going to find out, aren't we? We're going to find out. Right, so the battery is connected. I'll get less nervous the more I do this as well. Don't forget, this is only the second time I've ever done this, so I'm just trying to go through everything in my head. Did you do this? Did you replace that? Is that connected? Did that have oil in it? The engine has got oil in it, you know. So nothing for it really, other than to turn this key and just crank a few times to build oil pressure. So I'm going to turn the key now, and then I think we need to listen out to see if the fuel pump whirs, and then if it did, then I'm going to have to do some Googling or something. Yeah, I mean, that sounded like the fuel pump. Oh, I've got a million lights on the dash, but right, let me have another look about where this relay is. Okay, so I just did about 15 minutes worth of Googling, and I think the fuel pump relay location is in T17, not T10. I mean, one thing I will say, I'm not going to do anything from the Fiat group again for a little while. Like, the complete lack of documentation available for, you know, civilians, if you like, people outside the company, is just, it's terrible. It's absolutely awful. When I did the Mini, there is so much stuff. There's Bentley manuals, you can get all of the part diagrams online. Like, it's really quite comprehensive. For this car, it's so dry. There's nothing available, so I'm not going to do anything from the Fiat group again. I can say that now. I think I might have to stick to things like, you know, Volkswagen group, BMWs, Mercs, I don't know, anything where I know I can get reliable information. Anyway, let's turn this key and see if we can hear the fuel pump again. No. Okay, T17. So I'm just going to crank the engine for a few seconds. I'm going to do it a few times. So I'm just building oil pressure, I hope. And I'm going to go and check for some leaks before I actually do start the engine proper, just around the turbo and stuff, where I've replaced a load of those crush washers. Four for good luck? Is that it? 4, 3, 5, 4. Right. Okay, I've had a look around. Nothing seems untoward. The fuel pump is reconnected. I've got a cotton mouth. I don't want to turn the key, but I'm going to. Here goes. First start of the new replacement TwinAir engine in my Fiat 500. Please don't die. Fuel pump. Nothing. Well, that's not good. Right, so it looks like the fuel cutoff was activated, and the way you deactivate it is you do a load of messing around with the indicator stalks. You turn it right, you put it left, you turn. Let's try again, see if this works. Nope. Oh, what on earth is happening? I just disconnected the battery and left it for a little while, hoping that that might reset something. I don't know. Okay, that was a fuel pump. Everything looks okay-ish. So what I've done is I hooked up my scanner tool to the car, and I'm getting the following two codes. I'm getting P0230, which is fuel pump relay. So I've just put that back in, haven't I? And I'm also getting P1524 spark plug anti-fouling function. Now I've done some Googling, and there is one interesting post where someone basically managed to trace it back to it being low oil pressure problem, and he was doing what I was doing, cranking, and it just wasn't building oil pressure. And because these TwinAir engines, they need oil pressure to operate the inlet valves, because they're solenoid operated or actuated, it just wouldn't start. So what he ended up doing was actually rolling the car and bump starting it, and that was the only way that he could get the oil pump to prime the engine properly, which seems insane to me. I'm not going to be able to bump start this car, not here. I haven't even got wheels on it, the suspension's not all connected up again. I mean, if you know anything, please let me know. You know, those are the two fault codes. I mean, it kind of makes sense. I did just take the fuel pump relay out, so I don't know, unless there's something with this new engine. Maybe the oil pump on this new engine has gone kaput, or I don't know. I don't know. Ugh. Anyway, like I always say, this is actually half the fun. Every time something like this happens, I learn a bunch. I do not have any more time today, but if you could help me out, and if you think you might know something, please pop it in the comments below, and hopefully we can get it started in the next one. This is painful. Please do me a favor by hitting subscribe. It really does help me a lot. I really appreciate it. This is killing me. just hit subscribe. I don't know. I'll see you in the next one.